Okay, so we've done a little bit of just passing through. That would be some chromatic movement to the one chord. And we started on E flat 7. We're going to add another chord to that and back up just a little bit more and give us a little bit more filling up the measure. So if we add another chord, then at the end of our blues or the end of one of the choruses or any of the choruses, then we could start and play 4 dominant seventh chords in succession and one on each quarter note, and that gives us a nice forward motion to the one chord. So I'm going to show you those for the left hand, and then I'm going to show you several different options, and this should help clear up some of the confusion that happens to jazz musicians and blues musicians all the time when they're trying to learn or hear things or decide things, okay? So let's get started. Here's the first one. We're looking at E, and we're going to play E7. This is going to be E7 to E flat to D, D flat 7, and then we're at our C7. So not really that much more difficult and not that complicated either. Now we're going to do descending sharp 9 chords with all of this, or what some people call jazz voicings. So we're going to start with the E, and we're going to be going chromatically. So the third of the chord is going to be at the bottom of the voicing. Then we're going to have 7, and then we're going to have sharp 9. And this is sharp 9 to the E. So remember that we're counting based on an E7, and a lot of times with the sharp 9 chord in a jazz voicing, you can have the 13 in there, which was in this case would be the flat 13. So we're taking these typically consonant or diatonic colors like 13 and 9 on an E7, for example. We're going to flat the 13 and we're going to sharp the 9. And then a lot of times we leave that note out in the middle, so we just have this nice 3-note voicing. It's very easy to do that with one hand. And then I'm going to go down chromatically. So we're just doing exactly the same thing. You can figure this out as you go. The next one's going to be E flat, sharp 9. And there's our sharp 9. This is just the Guidetones. Okay, now we're going to do D7, sharp 9. You can see that there's our Guidetones, and here's sharp 9. And then we're going to have D flat 7, sharp 9. And then we're going to land on C. Now you can go this way, and that's a pretty shocking arrival, going from 9, all that chromatic. So sometimes people go right to the sharp 9 on C7, so that you have this sound that's chromatic, and I'm showing you that with your left hand. Now if I do those with my right hand, it'll be this way, so you get a nice shape of the hand. I hope you can see what I'm doing there. I'm going to go real slow. That's the next one, but I would play it with my thumb and 3 and 5. This one I'm going to put 2 in there because I can move to it easily. And then I'm going to go down to this one here. Here I'm going to actually probably put 4 on that because I'm right there. And you can work out your own fingering, but you want it as smooth as possible. So then these punch. Or you could be going and you can always resolve that to C without the sharp 9. sounds nice without the sharp 9. It sounds good with the sharp 9. It's a matter of choice and a matter of taste. Now, to show you some of the things that can be very confusing when you look at chord changes. It can get very confusing when you try to figure out voicings. So I'm going to stick with just this sharp 9 one for today, so we keep everything simple. But I want to show you what can happen with your bass player. So you've heard maybe of the thing called secondary dominance, and that's what that's like a step before the thing we actually just did. So I wanted to show you the most common thing first, and how did we get there? So if we look at the piano overhead, E7 is 5 of A. So now we're going to be at A. And A is 5 of D. And D is 5 of G. And G is 5 of C. And that's how we get back home. That's one option for root motion. So you change this, you start with an E7 sharp 9. But now when you go to A, you're not playing E flat 7 sharp 9. You're playing A7 13. 1, 7, 3, 13. Now we're going to go to D. This is sharp 9. And then we go to G, and this is G7, 3, 13. And then we're at C. So this is the sound of the bass. So that's secondary dominance. You're working your way backwards sometimes to find them, but in this case you can learn how to do this very easily because you take the third of the key you're in. So if you're in a C blues, the third of C is E, and that's 5, and you can work your way there. There's a bunch of ways to do this, so I don't want to really confuse you with one way or the other as to how, but it's kind of fun to figure out this secondary dominant idea. And then we replaced all of those chromatically. So we were going this way. And now we're going to go chromatic. But why did it work? So this is sharp 9 to A7, the tritone substitution, or the alternative to A, the chromatic dominant, as some people call it, sharing these guidetones. As we've talked in another place, A7 shares the guidetones with an E flat 7, and that's why we did the thing first in the other video, is so you could recognize that looking down. So this is now an E flat 7. It's an A7, now it's an E flat 7. If I put 13 on the A, it becomes sharp 9 on the E flat. So going chromatically, I don't have to change my hand. And there's the ending on sharp 9, or I like to keep that C available just so I can show you that you could resolve that way and have a little more of an inside sound if you prefer that. Not right or wrong, just I'm keeping the choices available to you. So then we started with this, and that's a nice way to go at the end of the blues. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that would be a turnaround, you might call it. Sometimes it's a way to get back to the beginning, and in this case we're using the dominant 7th chord. So the other thing that can happen with that is, instead of starting on E, we can start on B flat, which would be the tritone relationship or substitution to E7. So this is 3, and 7 on the E. It is 7 and 3 on the B flat. This is sharp 9 on the E, and this is 13 on the B flat 7. We're going to go chromatic again, and we're going to hit the A. Now we're going to hit A flat. This is A flat 7, 13. It's not D sharp, D7 sharp 9 anymore. And there's our G7. Now we can go secondary dominance with that. And so that gets very interesting. To E flat, 5. This is 5 of E flat. This is 5 of A flat. This is 5 of D flat. Here's my sharp 9. And then we go to C chromatically. So you can see what's happening here. You can hear it. And the Guidetones would do that as well. Or I could hit the D flat. So these are options with just the Guidetones. And then you're alternating them as well. You could alternate them. So we could have this, and then we can go to A or E flat. We can go to D or A flat. Or D flat here. So the point I'm making here, if you look at this and go through this slowly, and yes, the blues scale will work wonderfully over there. There's also some really cool things to do with the right hand, but I didn't want to get too much into this because this is a really big chunk of information. And if you notice the options for the bass or the root motion, you're making really radical harmonic decisions with very little physical movement. And the other side of that is, a lot of times you'll see chord charts where it says E7 sharp 9, then A713, and on and on. When they're close like that and you're reading at a fast clip, sometimes that can be very confusing. If you learn these, take a bit of step back and go slower and look at the theory behind all of this, it helps develop your ear, and it helps give you choices. And the other thing that's really fun, and I hope you get this, is a bass player who knows this. Because it is a whole other world to be playing with somebody who can switch at will on those tritones while you're playing. So you think you're killing this E flat and suddenly it becomes an A, and you keep playing E flat, and that's the world of really great jazz. It's up to you to find that person who will do that for you and work with you that way. All of these things get talked out and fleshed out. All these options, you hang out with the musicians and you do this in the basement or in the studio before you go out. And then you take your sound out and the developments you've learned and have fun sharing it with other people. And until next time, that's it for now.